You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the spark of madness.
Oh, wow.
That should be our new
That's our
opening.
new intro. There's no other intros now. Yeah.
That's the one, Marv.
Hey, welcome.
Silver tuna.
Welcome to the Spark of Madness.
This is the Spark of Madness. I am Matt. That's Ben. That's Aaron at the controls. And we're joined again by our special guest, fresh off
the boat.
His victory lap of winning our Oscars prediction contest, Colin Orr. What's up, Colin?
What's up, boys? It's good to be back.
Keep it cool, my puppies.
We're gonna need to see a little humility for this episode. So keep it together.
No showboating.
Nice. Okay. All right.
So today, in anticipation of, we're a little bit earlier than normal, but 2 weeks from now is when Solo comes out, the Han Solo story.
Wait.
No, it comes out this weekend, right?
Nope,
No?
2 weeks. Oh, yeah, we're a little bit early.
Okay.
Not that this movie necessarily ties into it, but we are going to be doing Rogue One,
A Star Wars story.
another prequel Star Wars movie that we all have. Well, I guess Aaron, this is the first time seeing it, right?
Yes.
But the rest of us have had.
It's fresh in my mind. I watched it this
Several
afternoon.
viewings.
Yeah, we're very opinionated. This could be a very heated episode.
You sure?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but Colin, Ben, you guys had an interesting experience with this movie, podcast related, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We wanted to do a test. We wanted to have fun. So me and Ben, instead of just talking about it on the phone, we decided to record it, and it ended up being like a pretty fun podcast of.
How many
just
hours
us.
was it?
I think it was like a 2-hour podcast, possibly.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
no one's ever listened to it.
Yeah.
No one ever will.
It was on Jeddah before it got exploded.
That's right.
No one's ever going to find those archives.
It's in
Oh,
the secret
boy.
vault. It's just called Stardust. That's it.
Yeah.
I see.
It is Stardust now.
I got you. I understood that reference.
Well, that's really. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I think we've even called it out on this podcast in the past. We must have, at least when
Yes.
Nick was on it. But Ben and I, how long after it? After the one you're talking about with Colin? must it have been?
Maybe a week. Maybe
Like a
or
week.
two.
So this is before. This was literally 3 months before our very first episode together. This is before I'd even met Aaron. Before
Before
Power
the dark
Rangers
times.
before the Power Rangers podcast.
Before Rangers. Nice.
Before waking up in the middle of the night with the cold sweats.
Yes.
Imagining Aaron.
Call me
coming
up, ladies. I have that effect.
Cool as the other side of the pillow.
But Ben, Nick Shelton, who has been on a handful of our episodes, and I did a Rogue One podcast. We got together at your apartment.
And my crappy little
Yep.
Tascam.
And we had just gone to the IMAX showing, right?
Yeah.
And we set up your Tascam. We sit around this round table. We had this like really nice bottle of Jack Daniels,
yeah.
they were sipping on, and we're like, we're gonna do a podcast. This is our first one. We're all really excited.
Oh boy! I'll set up the Patreon tomorrow.
It was like a 3-hour audio recording,
And
just of progressive,
Getting drunk.
and at the very end of it, you recognized, like, I think I might have been like passing out or like bobbing my head, and you're
Did
like,
you hit
all right, I think we're
record?
done here. It was really funny. I'm really glad. Yeah,
I think we're done. I think we're done.
it's just a very abrupt end.
And then we had to wait a few
This is a very Monty
few
Python
hours
ending.
to,
Eh?
it was that I have to say, I've never seen you at your proudest.
Yep.
So no, that was the most liquored up I've ever seen Matt.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's what this movie drives me to do.
Drink.
Because it is
Whoa.
just. Yeah, you will hear my
Your
strong feelings about
disdain
this.
goes that far.
Yeah.
But it's an important movie. It was the spark that sparked them all.
It was. Yeah, it holds a
Wow.
special place in my
Well
heart.
done.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
All right, so let's dive right into the movie. Who wants to kind of, some people, this has no relevance necessarily to Solo. It might have been a long time. Who wants to kind of, let's have Colin do it.
Yeah,
because you're a guest. And
boy.
what's
You're our
the,
guest. You're our
Please do the
guest.
whole show so I don't have to talk.
yeah, what
You're
are
the
kind of,
best. You're the best.
what are kind of the
Okay.
big bullet point action items that happen?
Rogue One is a story of a young
Star
girl
Wars?
trying to find her father, who was working for the Empire and was taken away from him by who was it? Forrest Whitaker. And then she grows up and she finds out that they made a device, and she has to find the plans for the device, which is the Death Star. And then
I never guessed.
they
That's one big
find it,
device.
and yeah, I mean, because we know the next story, the next movie, then that connects to it. You know that they got the plans. Spoilers. Sorry.
Speaking of devices, we all have our own devices. Matt's Jack Daniels.
I see. Moving on.
This movie is basically the literal prequel leading right up into the second.
I get the joke. I'm sorry.
Before Leia,
A New Hope.
A New Hope starts. Basically, it goes right up to the. I don't know how long before A New Hope do you think that happens?
The bridge could be anywhere from 5 minutes to like a day, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty quickly after though.
minutes.
Yeah. But we follow Jyn Erso and her dad Galen Erso, who's on Death Star, and then it's this ragtag group of rebels and their mission to try and get the plans. And
Okay.
ultimately they get them.
They were in rags, but I didn't see any tags.
It's against the government.
Bad writing.
Bringing the fire tonight.
Yeah.
So
Zing.
I'm curious how you guys want to do this, because I've made my opinions of it are pretty well known. So I don't know.
Not to the world. Not to.
Could you
Not to
succinctly
Colin.
describe your hate?
Hey,
Do you want me to start? I don't want to start there. I'll tear down. Let's talk.
We could do a
It's the
compliment
past.
sandwich.
Let's do the good bad. Let's go back to good bad and ugly.
I don't have title cards for that, but
That's okay. We'll just. I think it'll be good to, at least for me, to have a category where I actually talk about good things about it.
no, we don't care. Let's just go.
Okay.
Let's just go.
All right.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
you guys
it's very
start. Go for it.
interesting. It is very interesting that it sounds like you hated it. This is what I'm getting.
It sounds like Matt is just full of hate.
Um,
Give him the choice between a green, blue, and a red lightsaber. He'd take that red one. The quick and easy path.
I'm wearing a red shirt.
But it's I feel like there's a lot going into this movie, but stepping back, and I want to analyze the crap out of it. So we will, and I understand we will.
You will be.
But I feel you take out all that nostalgia crap. You take that all out.
take out the guy with the funny nose from the cantina.
That story right there, of without any of the nostalgia stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like is a decent war story.
Yeah.
But I
Matt's shaking his head here.
if we're going into I'm not saying like a literal war story. It just there's pieces of it. I feel
It's
that
a fake war.
action's really good. But I feel like when Vader shows up, I kind of lose conscious of like
It becomes another movie then.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say, Matt, because like I mean I do have problems with this movie. I definitely.
It's not a perfect movie at all. But
I'm really looking forward. And Tarkin's CGI, I just have to say, really is hard to rewatch because I have the Blu-ray of Rogue One, and just even rewatching the Blu-ray of it when Tarkin came on, it's hard not to notice.
Yeah.
He's so uncanny, you know.
I may surprise you and say that the two CGI characters in this movie I had zero problem with.
Really?
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
You of
Okay.
all people?
Yep.
I
don't know.
I had
Wasn't
more
there
of a
like
problem with Leia?
Wasn't there like a back? Did they signed over the rights and stuff to the characters, right?
I
Or was
believe
there a
so.
big issue?
No, there wasn't.
Okay, I thought they did.
They got the go ahead from Carrie Fisher and also the family of
Yeah.
Peter Cushing.
Yeah, so with that in mind, I also felt like the effects were fine. I didn't mind it at all. I didn't care about either of them.
Don't you want like a?
In fact, I have a major suggestion later.
Don't you want to make a pillow like and call it
Peter
Cushing?
All right, Aaron.
I wish my sound effect keyboard worked right now.
Aaron, I'm curious. I want to know what you thought, kind of, even just overall, or things that kind of stood out. As this is your first viewing, you're removed from like the initial hype, all the backstory. You're also after some other Star Wars movies that have come since. How did you feel about it watching it for the first time?
I had mixed feelings. I would say, I say this in the nicest way possible.
No. Say it.
I don't want to say it rude. It is a competent effort at a slice of the story that we did not need to see.
So it was mean. The story itself didn't need to be
The
told.
overall plot was meaningless, but the characters therein sort of made it.
Well, it's like the Titanic, though. Why make a movie of Titanic? You know, we know what's going to happen, right?
Exactly. It lives and dies by its
No,
characters.
yeah.
So what's your big thing then, Ben? Like when you think about this movie, what's kind of like your
the one big thing that I like it compared to the especially first of all, so far, and I haven't seen Solo yet, I like this Star Wars movie better than the other two. And the reason is because
Force Awakens and the
Last
New
Jedi.
Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
The reason is the little bit of
didn't
serious,
suck.
the little bit. Well, one, it has the best action sequence. Like that final battle sequence is probably the best action sequence in any Star Wars movie.
It's up there.
I will defend it. It was well thought out. It was it was just pretty cool things at stake. But I think the seriousness tone it took, I liked better. That being said, I wish it had more humor like the original Star Wars, but it wasn't balanced as good as the original Star Wars. But I like the serious tone of how scary the Empire is. Then, especially like the Last Jedi, where it's like, hey, is your refrigerator running? Colin.
We're fine here, thanks. How are you?
The joke of the seriousness of of everything in the main movies I don't like.
Those were too much humor. This was a little too little.
A little too little, but I like the seriousness of how scary the Empire is.
Here's how I contextualize
is.
this movie, and I'll get to kind of my like big bucket points. But if I had to give like an overall analogy of how I perceive this movie is, I think this is like what DC tried to do when Marvel got big and DC tried to rebrand itself, where it's like DC, hey, we're dark. We got these cool action sequences and cool characters, and look, we're doing the Marvel jokes, and the characters aren't very good, but like they're trying to make really dumb jokes that
We're
don't
looking at you, Justice
fit
League.
in anything. That's how I feel like this is. It was
How
Rogue One.
What jokes did they make specifically in Rogue One that there wasn't many jokes at all?
Exactly, and they all fell flat.
No,
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think they fell flat. I don't think there was.
I can't. Maybe the K2SO stuff is kind of funny, but the rest of it, there's no other jokes other than the robot.
That's what I'm
talking.
saying.
So
they're not making puns or anything like that. It's just a seriousness where the robot's talking within the humor. They try to make it more serious. So I think your analogy is wrong when you're comparing. DC to Marvel, because DC wants to be dark, but they try to have humor. Where I don't think they tried to have humor.
Oh, they definitely tried in this. There were plenty of scenes. It's
Like
like
what?
the only things that came through
Like
are the
what?
robot.
Like what fell flat, in particular?
So, I mean, there are a lot of lighthearted scenes, especially with and one that actually did work, and I thought was the funniest joke in the movie. It was like, "I'm blind," and they put a bag over his head.
Yeah, that was almost funny.
There's a lot of little snarky comments between the two of them, Imwe and the.
And he was a good actor.
Or I think his name's
Ip
Maze.
Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, those two guys had plenty of scenes that are kind of funny.
But they weren't take you out of the movie funny. They weren't quips or anything like that.
I thought they were in line with Star Wars type jokes. They just were done not the same way and not as well. That's kind of my point.
I don't think so. I disagree.
And I also think
Subjective.
it was very superficial seriousness. I felt like it wasn't real seriousness, and that's hard to say
I'm wondering
because
if that's
Disagree.
because of the pacing too, because they
Yeah, I
had to
think the
jump from planet to planet a lot.
I think
So
the first. I agree. The first half of the movie is the problem.
I almost fell asleep.
I think they could have told the story a little bit better in the first half of the movie, and I think Colin might have a point with the pacing.
Well, it's a checklist. It's a checkpoint movie. It is, to me, and it's just the same. They want to hit these cool scenes. They want to hit the cool scene to do, because they, like, in a way, I kind of agree.
It's kinda like Ryan Johnson.
It's a good war movie, but it's only good in the sense that it has good war action scenes. It's not good in the sense of the seriousness of the characters and what sacrifice means. I totally disagree that the themes of a war movie came through at all. Or the characters. I actually very much disagree on the characters.
I see you with the character aspect, because in a lot of ways, I don't really care when one of the characters died, except for the blind guy and the robot.
Him.
The robot and the blind guy were the two ones that I actually connected with the most when they died.
When you care the most with a robot, when the robot is the most interesting, engaging character, something is fatally flawed in the movie.
I think he's the second most. I think the blind guy is my...
The blind guy... So this is jumping ahead from my overall points, but the blind guy and his companion with the gun, Maze, I think is his name.
Buddy.
I think they miss an opportunity with them.
Those two guys are props. They're props in the movie to do cool stuff.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
I think they missed opportunity. I think there was a lot of missed opportunity with those two guys, and... so at the very end, here's an idea. I thought this would be good. All right. He's obviously a blind guy who doesn't have force-sensitive powers, but he believes in the force.
He has some.
Some, but very minuscule.
Like a spiritual guy.
He's what you see from people who aren't force-sensitive to start with.
No,
yes.
But I think it would have been a cooler arc for him, where he's like, instead of just doing his thing that we know he could probably do and pull the switch, he gets shot or somehow, but he uses the force just for an instant. The thing that he believed, for instance, to pull the handle.
That would have been better.
I think that would have been more triumphant.
Give me one person who went on an arc in the movie. And then there's one where you could say who did
hilarious.
go on an...
That was so silent, guys.
You didn't even say Jin, who I also had a counter prepared for, but...
I have the arc. I have the arc. The robot went on an arc. He got a gun.
He did get his gun.
There you go.
Yeah.
But
and
I
he
agree
accepted
with you. I think
that
that's the aspect of
that's
it.
The
is
biggest,
that these characters are the ones that we don't really care too much about, and it's more about
almost
the
like
action shots.
Yeah, the action, but also I think it's also about... If you were to, I mean, maybe this is the wrong choice for a movie, but the choices of this is a slice of this little bit of what's happening in the rebellion, and then we try to make it realistic as possible. Like this would probably be if we were going into real life, to Afghanistan or wherever. There's no human being's gonna have an arc in real life. You know what I mean? But they're gonna, maybe that's what they're trying to do, just capture like a little war story. Like there's no arc in Saving Private Ryan.
No, there's not. And I get your point entirely. And that's why I was talking about the war themes thing. You don't necessarily need one, but one, they tried to have them in the movie. I very much felt like they tried to give both Cassian and Jyn Erso arcs, but they were so abrupt manufacture. Like there was no emotional,
and they happened too quick.
There's nothing there to give us grounded. We don't care. We don't know anything about them. We don't care about them.
And I think what's his name, is it Cassian?
Cassian.
I think he's boring.
He's awful. He's
so
terrible.
boring.
The worst character in the movie.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, what makes Saving Private Ryan work is there's kind of arcs in the movie, but not big sweeping big ones. But the performances and the plot and everything works together. Specifically, the performances, they make you care about the characters with little information.
I think
this did none of that.
I think that is the flaw of Gareth Edwards movies I've seen. And
could you name a few?
Godzilla. He did the last Godzilla movie, which was cool action and cool visuals and stuff. But I couldn't care less about.
That was a stinker.
But I cared more about. I think because the influence of everybody else, the characters were at least more interesting in Rogue One. But I couldn't care less about those characters. He did. I don't think he understands that in directing.
Well, I do have a question for you guys. Would you have liked the movie if it didn't have the nostalgic elements in there, like, hey, there's a TIE fighter, there's a all the different aspects that already about Star Wars and wanted to see newer things? Would that
still would have worked?
it still would have
Yeah.
worked?
I think it would have been too hard. I think it would have been too jarring to do a prequel movie that leads right into New Hope that has almost zero continuous thread elements.
but I like the fact that they took a risk of doing something that we're not familiar with these characters. I'm not looking forward to the Han Solo movie as much as everybody else is, because this is great because see his backstory, but like that's playing into the audience more of that.
But the new characters in this and the new I mean, I could go through it, but
the droid is
the
new
characters,
design.
but the characters aren't interesting in any way. We don't know anything about them. They're just stand-ins, and I guess we can give them credit that this is just different, but it's just there. And then it's surrounded by really great effects and this cool kind of action, and then that Vader scene. But
Krennic is pretty interesting.
The
though.
soul of it isn't.
Krennic was interesting. I thought he was interesting. He had no arc though.
He had the exact same character trait as what's his name in the new ones, the Domhnall Gleeson, the redhead guy. It's the exact same where he wants to prove himself.
But he's better.
No, I don't. I think they're
He's
almost
much less
identical.
of a caricature.
He's realistic.
Yeah.
And
He's not a buffoon.
And he's kind of scary.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in the same room as him.
And I liked his outfit.
What? Okay,
It's well designed.
What are you wearing?
Let's talk a little bit about
Slave one.
Colin. What's something that's kind of sticking out for you that we haven't gotten to yet?
How great Forrest Whitaker was. No, I'm totally joking. Totally joking. He was phoning.
He was
in
kind of wasted.
the whole
He was a
time.
wasted character.
We know it's better than to accept this from you, Whitaker.
Yeah, well, when you first see him, it's kind of like, oh, he might
in the
be this
Force.
kind of cool resistance guy. But when you next see him, he's so batshit crazy that you don't know where he's coming from. I don't care if there's TV shows about him that you've seen before or whatever, because I heard he possibly might be in one of those cartoon series.
Yeah.
And
I think he was unneeded.
Initially, yes, especially if you're just gonna kill him off when he's like, "No, you go." What do you
Bye.
mean you're not gonna go with us?
You're not- he just stayed
you
there.
can help out more than Jen could, but yeah.
Yeah.
Half of his lines were just shouting, "Boogaloo!" That was like
When the guy has
summon
when
the
pilot
truth
has the-
octopus.
when the pilot has the bag over his head, you just hear lies, and you see that, and you end up finding out that's Forrest Whitaker say that. You're like, all right.
It seems like he's actually in the Forest, Whitaker.
Wandering the forest.
I hope that that big ass poodle got off the planet, because I want to see that thing again.
Poodle.
I don't remember that. I
when-
wasn't paying attention.
Well, right before they see Forrest Whitaker, there's they're blowing up that one tank thing, and there's there's a poodle that runs up the big poodle alien creature.
Well, how else were we gonna know when they blow up the tank that Jyn Erso's a good person if she doesn't go help this innocent kid? How were we gonna know?
I wasn't sure up to that point.
They had to have that in there. Absolutely sarcastic.
You know what was even more egregious to me is the old tried and true. My parents died when I was a kid, and that's why I'm sad, and I need to have something to strive for. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah, but they kind of poo-pooed it in the middle of the movie, saying he's saying everybody else died.
It was
doesn't
one
matter.
line.
Yeah, but I think
you're not the only one who's lost everything. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, boom.
Let's talk about Cassian real quick.
She had a stormtrooper doll. I mean, as a kid with a stormtrooper doll.
She did. We never got her.
Look, have you seen the cod pieces on those guys? Amazing.
We got that nice little flashback to when her life on the ship with
That's why they're easy targets.
Yeah, I love that flashback. I don't even remember what it is.
The flashback was just her life at that point.
I watched this movie 2 hours ago. I don't remember that.
We don't even have this. Obviously, Galen had a change of heart, but he also started there. He also, he was there. He was contributing, and then he defected. We don't really get that story.
How better for her after she gets how better would have been to have a montage of what she was doing. instead of.
Do you want to hear what I could just pitch my entire redoing of the movie, but I agree with you. Like, it could be totally different.
Yeah, I don't think you needed Forrest Whitaker. I don't.
I actually disagree.
He looked different in the recuts. Like I think they made him more crazy. Maybe he had more important stuff, but I wonder what the actual original cut was going to be like, because it showed him running with the plans. It showed a lot of different things that looked interesting.
So here's the movie to me, and I'll give credit to Gareth Edwards actually, and give credit to the writer. A lot of times when it's like, here's what the movie should have been. Like, it's based off of them having set up some pieces that are usable. So like, they deserve some credit that there's some good stuff.
It's easy for us to play Monday morning quarterback all the time with movies.
To me, this entire movie should have been Galen and Jin, like most of the movie, that then leads into her being with, maybe early on, with Saw Gerrera almost the entire time, just because it should have been a reflection of her hating her dad this whole time, right? That she knows that he's helping the Empire the whole time, and like having this extremist view, which I think is actually a super interesting idea that they tried to capture in Last Jedi, that the good guys are a little bit more broad in terms of their opinions, and there's good and bad to everything. And so having that character, I thought they wasted Saw Gerrera's character and could have made it much better. We could have cared more about Jyn Erso's character, that then reinforces other themes and other actions that would come later. And then also with this idea of this gray area, even on the good side, once you introduce Cassian, who like probably needs to be recast, at least his at least Cassian's motivations and his arc, that he's like this guy who's willing to do bad things for a good cause, like that was totally that thread was crap in this movie, and they could have done it so much better if they did all these other decisions. Instead, they prioritized the action sequences. They prioritized having these two prop characters with guns, and he's blind and he can do cool stuff. Here's the robot doing funny things. Here's Vader. Like, they do all these things that are just kind of like interesting for an international box office market, and they sacrificed what could have been a much better movie that has like characters you care about, even though they're brand new, and they didn't care about any of that.
Maybe it'd been better the way they should have added is like Jonathan Nolan way of like having 2 or 3 plot lines going on at the same time at different points in time. Maybe when she was a little kid, maybe like going back and like somehow
anything.
Like doing like this whole tie-in.
Especially
I think,
if Cassian was going to have that big of a story. Also, they were trying to make him part of the big story too, and instead of just focusing on Jyn and him, focusing more on Jyn, maybe like with your backstory saying and stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of her father, by the way, do you know who that is, right?
Yeah, he's an awesome actor.
We reviewed him.
Is his name Mads Mikkelsen?
No, wait, no, that's a different guy, isn't it?
I don't think we've done anything with him.
Isn't he in Darks? Is it? No, that's a different guy.
No, it's a different guy.
God, they look the same, don't they?
That's
Gosh.
Oh, shoot, I forget his name. But yeah, I mean, the thing about Cassian is what they try to do in the movie is they had that scene at the very start where he shoots the guy. I've now seen this movie 4 times, and I have not once read that as like, oh, he's going to kill this guy for the sake of securing information, or like he had to do it. Or like
he had an extra bullet in his gun.
I haven't read that scene how they expected it to one time. But then the other one is just all of a sudden he drops like, you're not the only one that's lost everything. Like, okay.
If you'd stop
like,
shooting
great.
people.
Like, okay, that's new information that has not been reflected or shown anywhere. Like,
I think they did miss their opportunities of how to make us care a little bit more about these characters. So I concede with that.
I do as well. I did not care one lick about these characters.
So it could be easier to kill them off later, maybe. I don't know.
No, I think it'd be...
Probably. I actually think you're right. Like, if you think about kids going to see the movie, like, you don't... Like, if Finn died, like, we all were like, oh, in that specific instance, if we accepted everything up to it in Last Jedi, Finn should have died there. Like, that would have been a cathartic thing. But when you think about kids going to see it, they're like, oh my God, they killed him. But these are all like
wish Rose
cartoon flat characters.
Missed opportunity.
Missed it by that much.
All right, what else you got for us, Matty boy?
Do you want me just to read my list of
Go.
everything? All right.
Write what you
This
must.
won't be that interesting, but at least you'll have something to react to.
Go get him.
So I already brought up how that they don't really give us why Galen was there in the first place, and we're just supposed to accept him as this heroic character. Like, it would have been at least nice to have something at the start. That's just a minor thing.
Yeah, but like, come on, man, come on.
Yeah, come on.
What's just
do you
another
guys-
reason-
do you guys
Set
wanna-
up.
Do you guys want to talk about the Vader porn?
Yes.
Yeah,
let's do that.
it should have been cut down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I liked it. I liked it.
I mean, as much as I really enjoy,
Don't
I mean,
choke on
I still get the
respirations.
reaction every single time when I see the fucking badass Vader.
Yeah,
That's not
Turn
the
on
one
his
I'm talking
lightsaber.
about. The stuff in the middle of the movie needs to go.
The stuff in the middle, yeah, I agree, because when it comes up to that part, it gets away from the original storyline, and you kind of like, oh,
It
well,
would've-
I
it
love
would've-
seeing Vader, but I
it would have been
know.
a cool surprise if they never showed Vader in the trailers, and then that you
And
get
then he
that.
just shows
like,
up.
oh my
Yeah.
god! Like,
And I have
holy
multiple
shit.
reasons for this opinion. Not only did those scenes detract from the overall message of the movie, or feeling, I guess,
Took away from the other characters.
it took away from the other characters, and
Kind of downplayed their sacrifice.
gosh darn it, James Earl Jones can't really do the voice anymore.
No,
He sounded.
it was like this. Don't.
It just sounded like he can't project anymore.
No,
out
we
of
cannot.
breath.
He
Yeah.
cannot project anymore.
Yeah.
We need a new Darth Vader.
I did like one thing that they did though. Did you notice how his eye lenses were kind of red like they were in A New Hope?
They matched everything in
Yes.
New Hope.
Yeah, it was a nice little bridge. That shows that
Yeah, I
they
liked
thought
it.
about it.
Attention to detail.
Yep.
Other than that, it stinks.
But that being said, that last sequence at the
Oh
end
my
of
gosh.
Vader
It's
is probably the
very
I
greatest
good.
smile.
Well
I
executed.
smile every time I see it.
Yeah,
but
what Vader is all about. Like
That movie
they
puts
did it-
that from a 5 to a 6 for me.
Yeah, but also like that's the best. Like that's the best space battle in Star Wars, and that's the best. The best
Just sequence.
moment of Vader ever in any of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, because he didn't do a whole lot in the old movies.
No, he didn't. But it was more like
He's
the
pretty
legend.
spry. He's pretty spry in this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, he actually did something.
It shows you
had
how badass he is.
Freedom of motion and
We had always been told, and now we finally got to see.
yeah. Okay, so I'll talk about that scene. Let's talk about. I'm working backwards.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the plans. How about that? This
Sure.
is one of my big.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that.
sticklers.
I don't even think that's big of a deal. I think this. If this
It
is your
should
biggest, Go on.
I think it should be a massive deal. This
Well,
was the one
nah,
thing. One
nah.
thing. The whole premise of the
It's
prequel.
stupid.
Let him
is about-
talk.
The whole premise of a prequel for this movie was to communicate how they got the plans and what was it. Yes, it comes off as nitpicking, but I can rationalize it. Is that this is what is.
I can rationalize the other way.
This
too.
is what literally sets up the entire franchise. Is the plans. It's where the entire first movie starts. It's where we're introduced to Vader and the desperation to get the plans back because it's the one thing, and it sets up Princess Leia, who is this iconic character, and it kicks off this convoluted, amazing adventure story where R2 goes off with the plans, and it starts everything.
We got it.
Yeah.
No, keep going.
So what happens is they fuck up the one thing they needed to do.
How?
Because the idea is that they even show it.
Oh.
They even show it
Careful with
with
that.
the stupid satellite dish can broadcast it up to anybody through the ship,
Yep.
through the shield,
Yep.
and they have 1 million ships up there. And they broadcast it through, and yet we're supposed to believe one ship is the only one that got it, and then that ship couldn't communicate it out to anybody else.
Yep.
And we're just supposed to the one thing is that they communicate it up, and the one plans then get hand delivered from the ship.
But I don't see that as you know as it seems very feasible.
This
It
also
could be
then
explained like that. Like I'm not trying to defend it, like Ryan Johnson supporters, but
but you are. That's what you're doing right now.
no. But I
You're
don't-
defending a core flaw.
But I don't think it's that big of a flaw. That's my whole point. I don't think it's as big as the flaw of bombs flying in space and hitting, things.
Okay, allow me to keep going, because that scene only happens with the radar where she gets the plans
Yeah,
and then she
but-
triggers it. It comes after a scene that is utterly ridiculous, where a character who doesn't have any Han Solo gambler bluff in her just tells what's his name right in front Ben Mendelsohn's character right in front of her, like, yeah, I just sent the plans up there. He could have turned around and he could have shot her. He could have turned around and shot the plans. The plans hadn't been transmitted yet, and for no reason she communicates it. So in that moment, she's just an idiot. She's not sacrificing. She's not doing anything smart.
And this is how I can explain the logic to that one. And you're not wrong, but in terms of things, like, she probably thought, this is it. I'm done. I want to make him feel like it's already been transmitted, make it like this, he's going to shoot me anyways. We didn't know that Cassian was going to come and help and Ex Machina, come over. But so I think rationalize that you would say something like that before you're going to get killed, just to make him feel like, it's like
Remove
throwing a
his
shoe.
feeling of power. Yeah,
Okay.
throwing
Yeah.
the shoe.
Allow me to take it one more step.
But
there's one
but
other thing.
I want to argue your biggest glaring thing. But go on.
My biggest glaring thing is that in doing this transmission and how they communicated the rest of the raid of the Citadel and how they do the transmission and then they like literally hand it off at that point, which doesn't make sense because it's just one ship. But all that is fine. Let's say that's all great. That sequence basically makes Princess Leia's role in them getting the plans totally irrelevant.
Huh.
Her entire role
Because she didn't get them. She was given
they
them.
just hand her the disc, and then the next thing is she puts it in R2, and that's it. And then later in the movie, it's like, Princess Leia got us these plans. And it's like, no, not really. No, she didn't. She didn't
That's
do anything.
your biggest glaring thing?
It
It's kind of
completely
important.
destroys the character's influence in the whole first movie.
I don't think so.
It means she didn't do
She
jack.
didn't do anything when they could have involved her in a myriad ways.
She went to the battle sequence with her. She didn't have to be there. She went to the battle I think.
How mighty brave of her.
She was just there. She didn't do anything though. So it ruins that. But here's another like little nitpicking thing that's so obvious. It's like they have a shot of R2D2 and C3PO
No, I'm
at the
with you on
base.
that one.
That's like there's zero reason for that.
Yeah.
And when R2's supposed to be in the ship with Princess Leia,
Yeah,
and
no,
you can think about the timing, but it's again all these little things.
No, I agree with you. That's my biggest glaring weakness. But I have another glaring weakness too. But let me explain. Let me defend the satellite thing. As I watched it again, it made more sense to me. The only person that knows that the transmissions are being sent to them in this chaotic, battle in space is Radix.
And the Radish wouldn't have communicated what the point is.
I agree with you. They should have communicated there, but
What do you guys think?
but I'm saying I don't think it's that big of a deal.
It all hinges on whether or not transmissions can be made through hyperspace. Can they?
Clearly,
It's less even that. It's to me.
No,
it's
I'm
like
talking from a strictly technological standpoint. Can you transmit while you're in hyperspace? If not, then it makes sense.
I don't think so at all. I think they're not in hyperspace. They're just up
They have
above
to leave
them.
immediately.
But they just sent the plans up into space, and then anybody listening, they even say that.
How do you know that it wasn't coded to their transmission line?
Because they said, hold on, I even wrote this down.
How do you know they
find
didn't have Sprint?
Should have got Boost Mobile.
There's
As you're
a
talking about
moment.
it, I just think of a little kid playing his Game Boy, and he's like, "Mommy, what's on my screen?" And then he just has the plans.
Well, son, it looks
No,
like pool
I
ball.
think either one or two things. No one else can get the download the plans, or that ship was the only one capable of downloading the plans, or two, like through this crazy war, like they miscommunicated that. That's one mistake.
So as
in
somebody who
war.
hated on The Last Jedi for a lot of these failures of like writing
this
and
is not
plot
as glaring.
continuity,
This is not as glaring.
this is literally the setup to the entire franchise. So I don't know, maybe I care a little bit more. And this also comes after an entire movie where the story and characters I also hated. So when it's like this is the one thing they had to get right and they screwed it up, I'm gonna call it out.
What about Darth Vader? What about Darth Vader
question.
and the AT-ATs?
But Darth Vader, AT-ATs,
Exactly.
R2 and C-3PO. I mean,
That's every single person.
No, I'm
This is
just
that
kidding.
way.
My thing is,
they had
when
the
they
two
were on,
ruffians from the cantina.
when they are on Yavin 4, Jimmy Smith, is that his name?
Jimmy
Leia's
Smits,
dad?
yeah, Organa, yeah.
He did he have to go back to his planet to get Leia,
Yeah.
or was Leia already on Yavin 4?
No,
Who knows?
she was
Yeah.
on the Radish's ship apparently.
It also
But then
reinforces
why
the
did we see
R2
R2
thing.
and C-3PO?
Yep.
No, that's a flaw.
Yep.
That's a box office boost.
Yeah, but they could have been.
Oh dear. Oh.
I always hate
because
Darth Vader
they're
slicing
on,
at people.
they're on Yavin 4, and then
No,
Jimmy
they're-
Smith is like, hey, I need to go back to my planet and die.
Yeah.
I figured out where the intercepting thing is. So they have earlier in the movie, they acknowledge a scene, where they're like, this is back when Jin is trying to convince them that her dad was telling the truth, right? And also another ridiculous thing was that she didn't grab it's a minor thing, but a stupid plot contrivance of she didn't grab the thumb drive. Like, okay.
Well then,
She just forgot it, I guess. This thing that was right in front of her that is the last memory of her father. Yeah, you'll just leave that behind, but fine, whatever. During that scene where she is trying to convince everybody that he was telling the truth, and Cassian's like, I'm not the one you have to convince. And she's like, yeah, just beam it back, send it to him. Go tell the base what's going on so that, we can make a plan. And he's like, we can't do that. They'll intercept us because we're in rebel area or whatever.
That's a good Cassian voice.
Thank you.
yeah, I liked it.
So that very much says, like, in
They
a
can't
specific
transmit.
area, that during a transmission, anybody just in the area can receive it.
I don't
guess.
think you understand science, Matt.
Did you see the big satellite?
Let me just. I've got more here.
No, I think I think it's different than. I think you're not wrong, but I think it's a different
You're
argument.
wrong because feelings.
Well, how about this?
I
How,
think
about,
it's different
battle.
than The Last Jedi. I think it's a little bit different than The Last Jedi because I think
how come?
the glaring weakness of The Last Jedi is motives. Like the characters' motives. We didn't question some of the motives of the characters, other than Radish not sending out.
I questioned the motives of every character because I didn't care about any of them and didn't know why they were doing anything.
And who can believe a radish?
Yeah, but
In this movie, I didn't know. Like,
You're just heartless, Matt.
well, like what? Why was Jin? Jin should have hated the Alliance. The Alliance literally killed her dad, but then she blames Cassian for some reason. The bomb that kills her dad is from a good guy ship.
Yeah, and she's mad about it for like 30 seconds.
And the entire movie
Because-
leading up to that point was
because
her
Cassi-
hating the rebellion.
because Cassian called that in, and she knew that Cassian was up, and I think she's taking it on him.
But what was her transformation to care about the rebellion all of a sudden? Why did she care, even though for the entire movie leading up to this point, she hated the rebellion?
I think she cared because she was in the rebellion with Bugla.
No, that's not the rebellion. That's the extremist movement. That's
Yeah,
different.
but I think she doesn't like the Empire, and she didn't like the Empire. Like I think she cares more about the rebellion than the Empire because the Empire killed them. She knows the Empire is evil, and killed her mom right in front of her and killed like.
But we even had this whole line of dialogue with Saw where she was like, I don't care. I don't see the Empire flags if I don't look up. Like, we had the whole scene, and then immediately
that
it's
was
like,
posturing.
derp.
Matt,
Okay, I changed my mind.
Matt, I'll go with you because right after the Vader scene, Jin becomes a rebel leader, and that was very confusing in itself. Like
She's just in the room.
all of a sudden, she's the one that everybody's listening to. When he was like, "You're gonna have to get them to believe you." I feel like she did a really good job if she's in the front row and she's the one giving the orders.
She's,
Of
she's
I-
failing upwards here.
But I think because of the
lot of Twitter
the
followers.
connection with her dad, building the Death Star. I think that's the only reason why she's.
So
in the front
she's a
row.
legacy.
So-
I guess.
she's a
Well,
legacy.
so allow me,
All
let
right,
me,
Rudy.
let me
She moved up in
piggyback on that, though.
sorority.
So you're right. She has the information about her dad, and that's what should ultimately. And they can't transmit the message, right? Why didn't they immediately turn around and go communicate the message in person? Why did they feel like it was a smarter idea to go in alone to this little ship and get her dad, and then bring the dad back to say it himself?
Because that wasn't the mission. He was going to kill her. He was following
Right,
orders.
but she didn't suggest that. Nobody suggested that. That was the obvious logical plan.
But like
Lights be back. You're there. All right, great. Let's now send an entire fleet intelligently to go. figure it out.
But I don't think that's pretty glaring.
Because they just took off without telling the rebels. So I mean,
Like the whole point was that. So here's a better point of conflict, because immediately after she was like,
They went
"You were
rogue.
gonna kill him. You were gonna kill him." And he's like, no, I didn't pull the trigger, did I? You're crazy. Like, a better conflict would have been before they do anything, you have that conflict where she's like, let's go back so that we can go get him. He's like, no, we have to go. So that we can get a little bit more of him being...
And maybe imprisons her, locks her out.
Like, this was a checklist movie. It was, we got to go to here, to here, to here, to here, to here.
You're right.
How much of that was due to the producers?
Yeah, I wonder how much...
That's fine, but that doesn't
I'm not
excuse
excusing it.
No, but I don't think it...
Side
no,
note.
I think you're right. It was a very checklist movie, other than the second half. I think the second half was...
They had full...
I thought the second half was great. The second half
was better.
That should be the whole movie, basically, if you think about it, of them infiltrating Scarif.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That should have been the whole movie, because they attempted to try to set up these characters and they didn't do a very good job in the second half. But like the way that they figured out the way to the pacing was perfect.
I agree. I think the best place for a master switch that fixes everything is to put it on a random button outside, and everybody knows instinctively
that was a master
that is
switch
the
for
master
transmission.
switch.
They have to use it every time they make transmission from the dock there. I don't see any problem with that.
That
Boom.
controls everything.
Boom.
Who cares what I think, though?
Okay.
No, I can't.
That's the best argument I've ever heard about this. So
Who cares what I think?
yeah, I'm like
I say it every day.
redacted. That's actually a great point.
I think it would have been better if it was the whole them. They already had the plans. You know what I mean? But they can tell like a Christopher Nolan. They already had the mission to go to they already understand that there's a Death Star and going to the plans, but they had the mission flashbacks and stuff of everything, and you can integrate all these characters and how they came together, and then have it like the very end.
I mean, let's say they don't do anything different. Even if you want to end, the whole movie is about kind of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Even if you want to go so far as to say they intentionally made characters that were kind of nothing characters, just to show that any little person can make this big difference.
I bet that's
even if
what
they
they were
want to go
thinking
that
about.
way. Even if they wanted to go that way. I don't think it came through, but let's say that was their intention. Why didn't the rebellion believe them? Why did they abandon them and then just show up at the end? Like, if this is a movie about hope, it's about this grand idea of like. Well, instead
no,
they kind of.
But it's not a movie about hope. It's a movie about like hope in the darkest times. I actually kind of liked how like realistic it was. Like, it was dark. It was like this is not your daddy's Star Wars. This is like, this is what it would be like, a little bit of serious tone. So I actually liked. The prison planets, like the rebels being gray a little bit. I think
that they were cowardly and non-committal. Like, that's not the.
No,
it's good that
the ones.
But no, but I think not. I like the fact that you have to have hope, despite even.
Okay.
The people on your side. Like, it was just hard.
So let's say that
hard. Like everything's working against you, but you have to have hope and perseverance to.
Or else
to
the
go
movie
through.
ends.
So let's say that we accept. Let's say that then we accept that the rebels are gray and they're on their own for a lot of it, and maybe in an ideal world they never come to help them and they just do it themselves. This group, that would have been cooler and would have reflected the theme a little bit better. But
no, I don't think so. I like that they won them over. I like the Radix.
they didn't win them over. They just. They
were like,
forced
they're already
into
there.
helping.
We
They're
better
there.
go get them.
We better go help.
But why not? You made a difference. You made the rebels.
They're making us
awake.
rebels
You know what I
look
mean?
bad.
I don't think that was a problem. I think that's
Okay.
I think that's a nit like picking your belly button to find some lint picking of you.
Okay.
Boom.
I'm having trouble. Like, you're defending all the nitpicks as too far, but I've given a lot of them, and also you've acknowledged some of the other core things about the movie are bad.
No, I agree with you.
what's like. Okay, this may lead into
Convince
like
him.
what should make this movie not one of the 3 or 4 worst Star Wars movies. Convince me why it's that much better than other ones.
Vader. Jar Jar Binks is not in it.
Do you think this is better than the prequels?
I don't know.
The characters are equally as flat in the prequels.
No, I think the prequels attempted to do things. I like, just like the prequels. I like in this movie. I like things a lot. The ideas that they did from it. I love the cinematography in this movie.
Very good.
I love the serious tone that they did with it. Not with the characters, but just the world. How scary the Empire is. How dark everything is. I like seeing other people other than the same. Chewbacca and the same cast. Other than they show them, I like that. I like the music's pretty good for doing it really quickly. Michael Giacchino, is that his name?
Giacchino.
He did Up. He's a really good composer. I liked
Star Trek.
Yeah. I liked the android. He looked real.
That was actually pretty convincing there.
Yeah, he was pretty good CG. I like Scarif. I think it's a cool design of
So what elevates it though? Just saying things that are good.
The action is really good.
action.
It's
Okay.
a good action movie.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's a very good action movie, and I actually think it has the best. The second half, especially, the best action in any Star Wars movie.
The action of this
It
movie
had a good flow with the action.
Yeah, I think the pacing in the second half when let's go to Scarif was good. I think that was really well thought out. I think the character development in the first half is not.
What? So, Colin, Aaron, what? I guess maybe this starts to get into like how we would rank it or what our score would be, but like kind of how does it divide? Like, what's its? Where does it sit and why? Like in terms of other Star Wars movies.
It's tough for me to make a decision on that because there are, in fact, most Star Wars movies. They're okay. Some of them are really good. Some of them are just whatever.
But some of them have like things you really like about them.
True.
That are, like you could pull that. That's awesome. I think all of them do.
You're not wrong. I'm speaking in terms of the whole.
Okay.
I would put it ahead of The Last Jedi, for certain. I would possibly put it. What, you think it's worse than The Last Jedi?
I just can't believe that. That just stuns me.
Okay, sarcasm. I got it.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
You think you
he's
would?
serious.
You
I'm
thought
legitimately serious.
that I thought this was better than The Last Jedi. That's what I said.
Wait, you think Rogue One is better?
Than Last Jedi.
That surprises me.
Why?
I don't understand that perspective at all.
I did not care for that movie at all.
I know. I just don't understand how this movie could possibly be seen as better.
I think it's an Oscar-winning, Best Picture
Because listen,
The Last Jedi. Oh my god. We may have to do an entire other podcast.
let's make a graph, shall we? The Last Jedi has high highs but low lows. This movie has high highs and sort of
This
middling
movie
lows.
doesn't have high highs. No.
At the action, it does.
way.
Yes, it does.
Oh,
Then,
God, yeah.
then The Last Jedi has the equal,
No,
if not
not-
90% high. You're
I didn't
telling me
see
the
that,
Red
no.
Throne Room battle that's like a one take of two
Lame.
people fighting.
The choreography was stupid.
Oh, come on.
All those guys flying off screen after not getting hit. I saw it. It was stupid.
No, Darth Vader alone, takes that Darth Vader. I'm not even thinking about the Darth Vader sequence and the action sequence, but that sequence kills the Last Jedi altogether.
That's insane.
Are
you kidding me?
A totally just slap. It was even filmed after the fact, right?
Hey man, it slapped on and still looked better.
That's-
I really disliked that throne room fight.
All right, Colin, where do you weigh in here?
Oh man, I don't think you're gonna like it. I rank it pretty high. I mean, I'm not a prequel fan. I think it's
Shocking.
okay that it exists, maybe, but I don't think Star Wars would be where it's at now if the prequels weren't there. So I guess it's okay that they exist. But about Rogue One, I would actually put it pretty high up there, probably after the
Above or
originals.
below Return of the Jedi?
After the original, so it's your fourth best.
After originals, it's probably
Okay.
my fourth best, and it's right up there next to Force Awakens because I like Force Awakens.
For people who want such
I agree with you.
you
Colin.
want a unique Star Wars movie. This movie, like, here are new characters, but we're going to give you nothing. We give you nothing to latch onto other than, that was pretty cool, man. And then these other movies that actually try to create a new world that blends the two together and then flows into new like character development that
Releases
actually
the horses
tries
from
to
the stables.
That's true. It's awful. Like we talked about that ad nauseum.
Rosebud.
But like you're totally ignoring all of the like just stupid crap that happened in this movie and just awful performances and the characters who you couldn't even remember anything about them.
Exactly. Let me explain succinctly and clearly. The smell of this movie was less smelly than The Last Jedi overall.
This was basically like watching a reality TV show and acknowledging that it's already flawed, but I'm gonna just enjoy it.
No.
But then other shows
Yes,
are like,
I'd rather watch The Real World than The Last Jedi.
No, I disagree with you, Matt. I think you really actually hate this movie for no, like, just, I don't know why.
you're basically just
It was at a rough time in your life. Now I'm psychologically going back into things, but
Do not invalidate his opinion.
I am invalidating it. He's invalidating mine.
I think it's fine. I love.
all I'm
that
saying
Matt
is
doesn't
that-
like this. I gotta
all I'm
tell you,
saying
I
is
love-
that
I
the
love he
only
doesn't
things
like
you've
it.
been able to consistently tell me is that the action scenes are pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yes,
and that's it.
I will tell
Yeah.
you. I'll say this. This
And that's-
movie is
the
nothing
majority
special.
Is action,
No,
too.
and I don't think the performances were bad. I think the direction of the acting was like and the writing of the characters were bad. I think the actors were good.
So my overall
Other than Forrest Whitaker.
my overall thing, and then we'll do.
He was bad.
And then we'll do.
And the pace in the second half.
We can have some other like kind of stray thoughts, but just my overall thing with this movie was that it failed in 3 areas, total areas. It substantially failed in like kind of plot continuity stuff in terms of setting, like hitting the beats that needed to set up the next movie and set up the entire franchise. It failed at that
I
just
completely
base level
agree
thing.
with your Leia thing.
And they're very nitpicky. It sets up an existence where it simultaneously knocks down existing beloved characters and entrenched establishment like the rebellion. It completely like throws this gray area thing, but doesn't really like address it in a meaningful way, and it also
it's kind
ruins
of a side
Leia. It
glance.
ruins Leia completely. And as people who like hated what they did with Luke, even though they added a lot of stuff, I'm terribly surprised that you guys have no problem
I
with
told
the Leia
you
stuff
that I did
in
not. I agree with the Leia stuff.
but almost in like a major way. Like,
It's pretty
a clever
major.
character.
I don't rate this movie very highly.
But then also in its own standpoint, it tries to do something unique, which I'll give it credit. It does a great job with action sequences, but it tries to relate back to these bigger themes as it ties to Star Wars of sacrifice and hope and stuff. And it's all communicated through absolutely terrible characters, absolutely terrible plot. Like everything just kind of happens and we don't care about anything, but like it looks kind of cool along the way.
Out of 10, go.
Yeah, but I think why one of the main reasons why I think it's better than Last Jedi is I think the serious tone makes it. It didn't take the Last Jedi was like watching a cartoon to me, and some of the decisions that they made took me out of it for that reason. And it's like to me there felt more like stakes, even though I didn't care about the characters as much, because it felt like a real reality, like of how scary this is. So I think that's why I think this is a much higher, and why I can forgive probably some of the logical things, because the way that the characters were in The Last Jedi were just so cartoony.
In short, we almost cared.
But I
don't even think it's about logical things. I think it's logical. I think it's emotional. I think it's literally everything about the movie other than those action scenes are pretty damn cool. So objectively, I would give this movie, like, if I strip away all of my bias, all of my Star Wars fandom and trying to connect it to it, I would say this is probably a 6 out of 10 movie. But if I include, it's the biggest fan base in the world. The billions of people care about Star Wars and how all this stuff ties together and all the characters and stuff in this universe, and I certainly do. And then all those other things like about how it all connects, that lowers it to probably a 4 out of 10 for me, and it is my third least favorite.
Third least favorite. What a way to put it.
Yeah.
Where do you rank the prequels? Where do you rank
I
the
put
prequels?
Attack of the Clones last, then
Thank
Phantom,
you.
then this.
I think Phantom's pretty good.
So
It's mostly good.
Yeah, I like Phantom.
So, what are your?
I'll go.
I think 6 is not a bad. I think 6 is.
Yeah, six is my score.
Yeah, I think 6 is not a bad idea.
See, we're just
6 out of 10 for your 4th favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, because the rest of
that's
that
no.
bad.
It was Colin's 4th favorite.
It's mine too. 4th favorite.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Okay.
I give it a 6. I would have given it a 7, but there was too much stuff that just bothered
But
me.
here's the thing: I'll rewatch Rogue One again. Maybe not the whole thing, but pieces of it. I'll never watch Last Jedi or Force Awakens again. I won't. There's no way I would watch it. There's nothing that interests me in those movies that I want to watch.
Here,
I'd rather watch the
I
prequels.
like, but I say Rogue One is connected to Force Awakens for me. I think they're in the same level. It's very hard for me to separate those two movies because they kind of did come out close to the same kind of aspect.
Year
and
apart.
point.
Yeah.
But yeah, those I loved Force Awakens and I didn't like the Last Jedi. But I'm not one of those haters that is like we need to get rid of the Last Jedi. I still think it's a good.
No, I had fun. But no, but
yeah.
I had fun. I had fun watching Last Jedi. Like I had fun watching it, but it's just like I don't take it seriously.
It got very heated here. I liked it, guys. This was nice. I like
air
all the
conditioner
heat.
kicked on.
Aaron, you didn't finish your kind
Oh
of.
yes, I would have given it a 5 had there not been the blind guy or the robot.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, they were my 2 favorite characters.
The only reason to watch this movie, except for the action.
And Colin, out of 10, what would you give it?
I mean, I'm there. I would give it about 6, but I might go a little bit higher than give it a 7. But
It's just to
Fair.
me, it's just the level of defense and the level of appreciation and how they rank it with other Star Wars movies. To say that it's a 6 out of 10, but be so staunchly defending of it just doesn't.
I've explained to you my rating system.
Doesn't mesh in my head.
I'm giving it a 7. I'm giving it a 6. I'm giving it a passive
No, but
grade.
I'm giving it a 6 because I like it better than the other ones. It shows you how much I think about the other ones. You mean it really does. Shows you how much I think about the other Star Wars movies compared to this one. So where I rate it, it's pretty fair.
And a 6 is not a terrible rating.
No,
I mean it's not terrible, but
it's slightly
it doesn't
fresh.
seem to be.
Slightly fresh. Story of my
It
armpits.
expires tomorrow.
Can we talk about the Tarkin thing real quick?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Yeah,
because
'cause
you said you liked it, and so
I did?
No, Matt did.
No,
Right,
Matt-
right.
Matt did.
I liked it.
You liked it.
I did too.
I thought it was almost a good job.
Sorry,
but I think-
took me out.
It took me out too. The problem is not that he wasn't convincing looking like Tarkin. That was fine, whatever. He didn't act like Tarkin. His movements were not like Tarkin. He was hamming it up in his motions. It's like the animators had to do something. Like Tarkin just stands there. He doesn't move.
You know.
He doesn't emote.
Here's an interesting point. I asked someone who didn't see the original, who doesn't really care about Star Wars that much, and said, "What do you think about the CGI characters? What CGI character?"
I didn't say
Robot?
they weren't convincingly real.
I think the problem with us was that we know we're going to see some flaws in him because we know that guy's dead.
You
know what I mean?
My point here is not that he didn't look convincing. It's that he didn't look like he didn't move like Tarkin.
I agree with you. I think that was the uncanniness of it.
I don't even think it's that. It's that he's over animated.
Yeah. I think
Didn't
You know how
the director create Photoshop?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Not the director, but the special
Tarkin.
the special effect.
Here,
Well, no, they did a really good job. I think it's
very good job.
I think you have to have this. You have to try to go higher and higher. So
I would
look
say
at better and
actually,
better.
I'm disappointed in the Leia. Actually, I
it wasn't that
I
great.
can let Tarkin go because Tarkin was pretty decent, but it was the Leia, and especially
The
for
mouth
that
was
being
all
your
wrong.
very last shot. That's your very last shot of the whole film.
It was
And
all right.
It
I
wasn't
don't
terrible.
know. It wasn't good to me. I didn't like it.
Here's my note. To make Tarkin look better, there was one shot where it was absolutely convincing to me. And it was when he's facing the window and all you see is the reflection of his face. To isolate or to cement this as a side story, they should have just kept him not in close up ever.
Well, it's just another example of they just did stuff to do stuff.
Exactly.
And that's the entire movie. The entire movie is just here's a character.
That was my first reaction to this movie's announcement. Looks like they're doing it just to do
the
it.
The characters are there just to be cool. Like the blind guy's there. Like what did his character and his friend really represent at all? How did they influence the other characters around them in any way? They didn't.
The Asian market. They needed to show it in China.
Exactly. They're just there. They're props. Every single thing just kind of happened, and we didn't care about any of the major characters anyway. But then we have all these other ones that are just kind of there.
I like the robot.
And that was it.
He was funny.
Alan Tunick. What's his name? Tunick. Yeah, he's awesome. He did a good
Wash from Firefly.
That was Wash? Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was
And he's the chicken in Moana.
that was Steve the Pirate.
Steve the Pirate. Yeah. On the bigger and better things.
Yeah, Steve the Pirate. Way more important than Wash. Okay, I don't care what anybody says.
He was also He was also in an episode of Frasier when he.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he copied Frasier's.
He was like his protege.
Yeah, and he copied Frasier's furniture exactly, and it got on like this magazine, and it's like, but that's my furniture.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is my cue to be like, we're done talking about the movie. When
I think we're done.
We hit the Frasier reference.
Oh, baby, I hear the blues are calling. This podcast is going to be quite stylish.
Jeez. So thanks, Colin. Thanks for sticking with us and coming on again.
He's
talk
calling
about
again.
Not like a new movie, but an old one.
It was good. It was fun.
Yeah.
I like how opinionated it is. Like I see, this is great because
No
this
sacred
is the way
cows.
it needs to be. It's very good like this.
Life.
Yoda's
Finds
with
a
me,
way.
and he should be with all of you. So okay, you know.
Powerful Jedi.
I think that's where we end it. So, all right.
right.
Until next time, thanks, everybody.
Bye. Stop.